Please do not contact nor harass any people or entities discussed in this video. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at a secret, unfinished piece of media produced by an organization already full of secrets, the Church of Scientology. The Church of Scientology is infamous in North America, but for anyone unaware, they're an alternative religious organization based on life principles created by American writer Lafayette Ronald Hubbard, better known as L. Ron or LRH. Hubbard got his start in the 1930s as a pulp fiction writer. Despite his many attempts later in life to become a religious mentor, it was through writing that he saw the most success during his lifetime. One of his most well-known works was the 1982 sci-fi novel Battlefield Earth. The novel's story follows an alien race of giants called the Cyclos colonizing the Earth. After 1,000 years of alien control, a human tribesman from Denver, Colorado named Johnny leads an uprising against the Cyclos. Hubbard wrote the novel while living in seclusion during the early 80s. It became a bestseller throughout the decade, even among non-Scientologists, but today most people know it through its 2000 theatrical adaptation, also named Battlefield Earth. A Battlefield Earth movie had been a long time coming. Hubbard had been planning a movie adaptation as early as 1983, and given how he personally directed some Scientologist training videos, he likely wanted to direct the adaptation himself. However, Hubbard died in January 1986, and since then, the rights and licenses to his books have been managed by his estate, a licensing company called Author Services Incorporated. Author Services has continued to publish and promote Hubbard's works ever since. They will sometimes reach out to external companies to create new projects based on Hubbard's intellectual properties. For example, they partnered with Franchise Pictures and Morgan Creek Productions to create the 2000 film. And before then, leading up to the film's release, they created trading cards with New Jersey hobby company Comic Images. And right before the film's release, they announced an anime series. The Battlefield Earth anime was first announced to the public on November 6, 2000 in The Star Report, which was an entertainment column in the New York Post. According to the column, Author Services Inc. had signed a deal with Pinecom International, a Japanese production company, to produce, quote, 20 one-hour animated segments budgeted at $4 million, end quote. The deal also included licensing rights for Battlefield Earth video games and a comic or manga series. At this time, Pinecom was aiming to have the anime episodes complete and ready for syndication by spring 2002, which was also when a Battlefield Earth sequel was supposed to come out. Not much is known about Pinecom International. They were a production company in Tokyo and were likely what is known as a planning company. In the Japanese entertainment industry, planning companies can be contracted to put together the staff, artists, and talent required for a piece of media. Pinecom was infrequently active between 1998 and 2007. They helped produce some insert songs for the 2002 Tokyo Mew Mew anime series and assisted in the general production and music of 3 Doraemon films. They were by no means a powerful company, let alone one big enough to handle an anime franchise backed by the Church of Scientology. It would be nothing less than a challenge, but Pinecom likely thought that it would put them on the map in the anime industry if they could get all of this done. In early 2001, Author Services announced on the official Battlefield Earth website that the series would now be 13 one-hour episodes. They called Pinecom, quote, a high-profile company, and also prematurely announced, quote, interactive computer games, toys, DVD applications, a Magna graphic comic book, and a major full-length animated movie, end quote. The thing is, the only other project Pinecom was publicly involved with was a licensing partnership with the now-defunct video game distributor GamePlayer.com. This deal saw Pinecom partnering with 2 companies in Hong Kong, a data center called Sunavision Holdings, and a business conglomerate called Skynet Holdings, to provide advertising space in English for any of Pinecom's games. This would have included the Battlefield Earth anime's tie-in game. Throughout all this, the Battlefield Earth film came out in America and...
Do you want lunch?
well, we'll get to that a little later in this video. But it was released in the year 2000, and even though a sequel was teased well before the movie even came out, many people assumed it was the end of the Battlefield Earth franchise. However, in 2001, Pinecom's official website, their sole online presence, still claimed that the series was in production. There were going to be 13 half-hour episodes now, and the page featured a quote by John Travolta, who played Turl in the 2000 film. He said he was, quote, "delighted to hear that a major deal has just been closed with Pinecom, a cutting-edge Japanese multimedia company, for a video game based on the movie as well as an animated TV series," end quote. It is unknown where exactly this quote came from, but it could have been from an author service's internal document. Then, in October 2002, the debut issue of New Type USA magazine claimed the Battlefield Earth anime was still on its way. According to the column, the series was now going to be 26 episodes, and animation production was going to begin in 2003. There was one new credit, Tachihara Hajime, who would be a story and art advisor. Tachihara was a producer with Pinecom for only a brief amount of time around the turn of the millennium, and even then he only assisted in Pinecom's music production. Voice actors were also being considered around this time. As early as April 2001, publicity materials were claiming Chow Yun-fat was in talks as one of the international dub actors for Turl. But a month later, the Star Report confirmed Mark Hamill would be playing Johnny, and not long after this, Dan Haggerty was confirmed as Turl. Pinecom's only online presence was through their website, which was online from 2001 to 2005. The URL is still active at this time of recording, but it only contains a basic landing page. When the site was active, the only content on their website was related to the Battlefield Earth book and movie. However, it did provide concept art for 5 of the characters: Johnny, Chrissy, Kerr, Sir Robert the Fox, and Turl. The files linked from the English side of the page just have the names in Roman text, but from the Japanese side of the page, the files have small character bios on them. This implies that the Battlefield Earth anime could have also been promoted in New Type Japan, but at this time it's unknown which issue they were printed in, if at all. The production start date of 2003 came and went. The project was quietly shelved, and no further Battlefield Earth publicity materials ever made reference to the anime or Pinecom. Now, why is it lost? Well, the Battlefield Earth movie was nothing short of a flop.
Why don't you tell me where she is, so I can go get her for myself, huh? No.
It was a box office bomb and was featured at the 21st Golden Raspberry Awards, an American parody award show about badly made movies. The film's release was so cataclysmic that the sequel was cancelled, and its production company, Franchise Pictures, wound up being investigated by the FBI for budget inflation. Meanwhile, Pinecom's partnership with Sunavision and Skynet fell through, as GamePlayer.com went offline less than a year after the deal was brokered. Needless to say, both Pinecom and Author Services were having immense trouble around this time. Battlefield Earth seemed to be a joke in front of the whole world, and the money dried up faster than anyone could have expected. Another reason why the anime could have been delayed was how Japan had become wary of alternative religions. The anime had been formally announced in 2000, less than 5 years after the Tokyo sarin gas attack. This had been perpetrated by members of Aum Shinrikyo, a New Age doomsday cult who had a long history of member mistreatment and dangerous activities that actively threatened the rest of the Japanese population. In the shadow of such a horrific incident of domestic terrorism, people in Japan became critical of the many cults that had risen to popularity through the 1970s and 80s, and the Japanese government was beginning to investigate many of these groups. It isn't uncommon for cults in Japan to advertise through the entertainment industry. Before the attack, Aum Shinrikyo produced numerous home videos, including their own anime and manga, utilizing the many members they'd gained through the art and hobby subcultures. The Church of Scientology did have a physical headquarters open in Tokyo in 1985, and began publishing Hubbard's writings throughout the late 1980s, so it wasn't as if people in Japan didn't know about them. However, in light of the Japanese government's investigations into new religions, people in the anime industry may have been afraid of getting associated with the Battlefield Earth project just in case Scientology went under investigation too. However, this is all just speculation based on the time period. Scientology has since maintained a minor presence in Japan, but they are primarily just an information center and book vendor. Could the project ever resurface? No way. Judging by the timeline of events, it's possible the anime never left its pre-production period. That means no animation, no voice acting, nor audio and music. An unidentified artist did produce those character designs, but even those were hard to find, having only survived via the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine. The Church of Scientology is extremely secretive with their internal documents, too. They are famously very unwilling to talk about any failures or controversies they've been involved in, even tangentially, so it's unlikely that any further information about the anime will be released. Any inquiries about the anime to author services could be taken as a veiled insult, so they would be unwilling to discuss it further, and I dissuade anyone from attempting to contact them. Everything we've found of the Battlefield Earth anime so far is likely all that was ever made for it. The only thing we're really missing out on are possibly any further character designs or slated cast and crew names, but those would only be sketches and speculative names. At the very least, everything about this anime that ever existed has been found, but as to whether or not the anime would have been good, that will remain a mystery. I'd like to give a shout out to Pointless Filler of the Lost Media Wiki forums for compiling several links that were essential to my research. Their thread will be linked in the video description. In turn, I've replied to the thread with these newly discovered character designs to ensure that they'll stay available to the public for years to come.